All right, I am back again with our co-hostess, Sister Marion Dozier. Marion, how are you? And we're live Facebook, too, by the way.
Great. Yes, it is Marion Dozier here with TYS Media and, of course, with CocoWire.net. And as Mayor Masters has decided, we are going to let y'all know today that it is Thursday that we're recording this, even though you will hear it on Sunday morning. And the reason why we're doing that is because today we're going to be talking about Hurricane Dorian.
Right. And the other reason why we're doing that is because you were outvoted 2-1. Right?
Yes. By you and the guest.
By the guest and myself.
Yes.
Well, either way it goes, it is Sunday morning. People are praying. They're going to church. Or they're coming from work. Or they're just with their families. So since it is Thursday, I think yesterday the world probably celebrated the I Have a Dream Dr. King's March on Washington. It was August the 28th. I will never forget. I was in Kansas City, Kansas at the time watching the speech, watching Mahalia Jackson and Roy Wilkins and James Farmer and all of the civil rights legends, and it was just amazing. And as we know, Dr. King was talking about the check that's come back marked insufficient fund, and he wasn't really connecting with the audience that as he, was known to do until Mahalia said, Dr. King, tell them about your dream, because she had just heard that speech, the I Have a Dream part in Detroit. Reverend Shel Franklin and Aretha and all that there in the 60s. And then he looked back and smiled, and he went into I Have a Dream. And the rest was history. And I just tell you, it was that speech, I believe, that pushed the nation further. Out of that speech came the civil rights movement was intensified because he really gave, it was more than a speech, it was a charge. Mr. Fields and Marion, you can just chime on in. But let me just introduce our guests. We have Mr. Alfred Fields here, and we're going to be talking to you more in what you do, but I kind of want you to kind of jump in on the I Have the Dream thing, Dr. King.
Thank you.
If you don't mind. We'll give you a better introduction. Marion will.
Well, and let me just say, ladies and gentlemen, the reason why Mr. Fields is here is to talk about Hurricane Dorian and to talk about what we can expect and how we can prepare, because that is what he does as part of his earning a living. But go ahead, Mr. Mayor, and talk about these
Mr.
things.
Fields, what do you think about the I Have a Dream and the history of the March, August the 28th, 1963?
That was a turning point in the whole civil rights era, and it picked up momentum from that standpoint. And like you say, it's history now. It's a proud history of our country and our race, our people. And it's something that we stand proud of, but still there's a lot of work to be done in this day and age, as we can see with what's going on around us. So, but we can mark that day as a turning point in our history as African Americans in this country.
And one of the things that history probably has recorded, it was the millennials. Is that correct, Marion? Did I say it correct? Millennials?
Yes.
Of that day that went against Dr. King at the end. 6-8, because it was the Black Panthers, the SNCC, the new leaders of SNCC and US organization said, we ain't going to do this nonviolent thing anymore. And they really kind of started going against him. And it kind of reminded me, and he was so heartbroken because he was giving his life. The man was almost threatened almost every day. And for his own people to stand up and reject him because of the nonviolence and the message of love. Do you recall any of that history?
Yes, and that was a lot to do with a lot of the frustrations that were going on in the different parts of the country.
True.
And so when you talk about those that were out in the western part of the country, out in California, they didn't feel the same vigor as what was going on in the central to the eastern part of the country. So I can see the frustration where they weren't involved and they wanted to have a bigger role, and they were saying, hey, we need to do something out here, but they didn't have the confidence that Dr. King had and his knowledge of traveling worldwide to say this is a better way to do it.
Right.
But they wanted to be a part, and they was going to force their way in. So that brought about a lot of that struggle.
It did, but in addition to that, when I kind of see how Reverend Jesse Jackson is being treated now, around the country by some millennials. Oh, that's of the old fashioned, old past, and we don't need to hear from Jesse anymore. We need our new young leaders. And, when he went into Ferguson, they treated him very disrespectfully and booed him, and here's a man who has done so much. But the millennials said, no, we don't want to hear Jesse. We don't have nothing Jesse said. We want our young people to take this over and be the voice.
And our young people don't understand the struggle.
They don't.
We're in a different era where they didn't see what my generation, your generation, and saw in the 60s and the 50s and early 70s even, some of the things that were going on. So they're kind of we're not educating them enough of where we've come from as a race,
exactly,
and where we are, and so they're looking at things totally different from a skewed point of view. And until we start to really teach our history, we're prone to repeat our history because we're not teaching it like we should, and we're all to blame because we want all our kids to have a lot more freedom, a lot more of the things that we didn't have. So we spoil our kids, and they think things are supposed to be done a certain way and hand it to them on a silver platter. So they don't respect what we've gone through.
And one of the people, then I'm going to move on and transition to something else, but one of the people I think is really underrated history and even today was Adam Clayton Powell. He was the chairman of the which Ways and Means. Anyway, it was one of the most powerful committees in Congress at the time. And he, to this day, no one has gotten more legislation passed than LBJ saying, Adam, he would call him, say, Adam, this is LBJ. They had a great relationship. But Adam Clayton Powell was amazing, what he was able to do for Harlem and the nation. And the civil rights bills. They all had to go by Adam.
Yes, and I a couple years ago, I rode down the street that was named after him in Harlem. And I'm guilty because I didn't know of all of his greatness either.
Powerful.
And so that's where we fail each other and not being able to celebrate the great things that are 2 generations ago. And we're not talking a long time ago, but 2 generations, this happened, all the work that he did in Congress, and the majority of the African American community don't even know who he is.
No, they don't, and it's well, whatever. Anyway, we're going to transition to why you are here. You are here because you were invited, and you were invited by the illustrious, dynamic, sensational, powerful, eloquent. Mystical, queenly sister, beloved Marion Dozier. And
I
Marion,
fully expected to hear a different woman's name at the end of that sentence.
Well, you will hear that name after we off the air. I'm sure you will.
Okay.
But since we have to be very, very nice and cordial.
Okay.
To one of my favorite people in the United States of America, in Palm Beach County.
Mm-hmm.
So what's going on, Marion? We have a guest here that you are responsible for. I just took your guest over for a few minutes. I give him back to you now.
Okay. So even though we had said earlier that we're going to, we have, let y'all know, as some of you may have already known, that today is really Thursday. We record on Thursday. But we wanted to say that because even though today, as you're listening, is Sunday, it is the day that Hurricane Dorian is expected to hit our area of Florida. And as of today, as of Thursday, it remained unclear just when it will hit and at what category level, but apparently it will hit. Governor DeSantis filed the state of emergency for parts of Florida earlier this week, and then the very next day, did the first on August 28th, the second on August 29th, he extended that state of emergency to include all 67 counties in Florida because, again, as of those days, it was not clear when or where that storm would hit and what category level. So we're all getting prepared, right, ladies and gentlemen? Because this is something we in South Florida have become used to doing, right? As has today's guest, Alfred Fields, who is, some of you may know him as the president of the Alpha Educational Foundation, the nonprofit arm of the Alpha Phi Alpha fraternity, but he is also a co-owner of Lightman and Fields, a North Palm Beach-based firm of public adjusters. Now, you may ask, what is a public adjuster? And Mr. Fields is going to tell us more, and I can't wait because I had never heard the term before, but apparently it is someone who helps ensure that insurance policyholders like you and I get the full assessment of damage to their properties after the storms occur, independent of the insurance company, the mortgage company, everybody. In other words, he's on the team, and today he's going to help us understand what we need to do to prepare for the storm and what to do if there is damage from a storm, all from his perspective as a public adjuster. Mr. Fields, welcome to South Florida Sunday.
Thank you once again. I appreciate the invite today, and
yes.
I'm excited about sharing some of the information I have that may help the community be prepared and in some way help them get through the aftermath of a hurricane that hits the state.
So have you already put up your shutters?
I am working on them. I've gotten started. Unfortunately, I'm leaving town for a trip that was planned months ago.
Oh, not because of Dorian.
Not because of Dorian.
Okay.
But if I knew exactly where Dorian was going to hit and I lived in one of those areas that they said evacuate, believe me, I would be on the road.
So what sense do you have, I mean, from where you sit and from your experience, from what you've learned today, by today, Thursday, what's your take on what Dorian may be doing? Well,
Dorian is gathering strength as we speak.
I know she sounded really scary.
I've been watching the Weather Channel and some of the news reports because it's so far away at this point, it is hard to determine by the professionals that do that
right.
where it's going to make landfall. It's not a very big storm in distance.
And apparently not super duper powerful right now.
No, but they are predicting because of the route that it's taking over warmer and shallower waters that it is going to intensify and probably intensify pretty rapidly, especially as it passes through the Bahamas. And you know that's only 30, 40 miles away from the coast of Florida here.
Right.
So, and depending on the direction and it's taking coming into the coast, it can be in a matter of hours and days. It will be upon us, and it could be a Category 3 or 4 is what they're predicting at this point.
That's what you're hearing.
That's what I'm hearing as of 4:30, right before leaving my office to come here
on Thursday.
But it is still over 600 miles from Florida right now.
So tell me, what is a public adjuster?
A public adjuster is a licensed individual through the state to actually handle insurance claims for individuals or business owners. They cannot work for insurance company. There's no dual role. So we only work for policyholders that own their business, their home, some type of property. And we work directly for them for their benefit and using our expertise to help them recover funds from the insurance company based on the policy that they purchased from the insurance company. I know that sounds a lot real technical.
Yeah.
Basically, it means that we become you. We go after them to make sure they give you the money you deserve to put your house or your business back in the condition it was before the storm.
So does somebody who, asks for y'all's help and support, does that somebody have to have insurance from a certain company or?
No, any insurance company basically has to be property insurance. We don't do any type of bodily injury.
Okay. It's just
adjusting.
All
it's all property damage.
Right.
So we handle things from fires, vandalisms, hurricanes, pipe burst, flooding of the home.
Any kind of.
Any type of damage to the home. And I know we're here today to focus about hurricanes. Because that's one of the most devastating things you can have happen to your home is, when you get a hurricane, especially on the magnitude what happened with Hurricane Andrew and some of the other hurricanes that have come through the state of Florida.
So how did you get into that category of insurance work? I mean, I saw on your resume that you have worked in accounting and insurance and lots of other things. And he is also college educated, ladies and gentlemen. But anyway, I'm just saying. Okay.
Well, thank you. But you don't have to be college educated to become a public adjuster.
Just to be a really good one.
But you do. I would recommend that you do.
Yeah.
But it's not a requirement. It is high school education is required. But I started my career out in the insurance industry with State Farm Insurance back in 1990. So I've been at this for a while. I was with them for over 7 years, and then I got into the public adjusting arena, and I've been with my partner now, Harold Lightman, for over 22 years now, almost 23 years.
And you were on this national disaster team when you were at State Farm, helping local and national victims of hurricanes, floods, and wind losses. I saw, too.
Yes. I traveled over the country handling claims for State Farm, because then I was a company adjuster. I only could work for State Farm.
Right.
So I handled claims out in Texas, all over the state of Florida. I did a lot of work on Hurricane Andrew, because Andrew hit in 92. And I started with in 1990. So I spent a lot of time down in Homestead, Coral Gables. I worked that whole area for years down there.
That was a really crazy storm, because I wasn't even living in Florida at the time. I was living in Detroit, and I heard
hiding
about
out in Detroit. That's what you mean. Yeah, you're hiding out in Detroit from the hurricanes of Florida. Just tell the truth. Shame the devil.
But I mean, it was just astounding. So people from up here in Palm Beach, the storm hit down south, but people were leaving Palm Beach County and going down there, to work and to help, so that was a crazy.
Yes, that was a major storm. None like that since. I mean, there's been some other bad ones, but the devastation that I saw in Dade County was unbelievable. If I could explain some things and you wouldn't believe it would be true.
So if somebody has damage after a hurricane, who do they call first, the insurance company or the public adjuster?
You could call the insurance company or the public adjuster first. It doesn't matter which order. But if I could back up and say a couple things.
Sure.
Prior to the hurricane hitting, some things I would recommend to be prepared in case you do receive some damage from the storm is to make sure you try to locate your insurance policy. Try to make sure you have that on hand. Try to make sure that you have a phone number to contact them, or at least your agent who sold the policy to you.
Especially just in case all the power is out.
Because there's going to be some if we get a direct hit, it's going to be a lot of chaos. So patience is one of the things that we're going to have to practice if that happens, because power is down. Companies are going through the same thing that we're going, especially all of the local people, and then they have to bring in people from around the country to assist. So that all takes time. Just gathering those things, but in the time between the storm hitting and you're able to get a hold of your insurance adjuster, we have these beautiful things called cell phones now. They all take pictures and videos.
Right. And we know Mayor Masters knows about cell phones.
Take
Absolutely.
1,000
pictures.
That was an exclamation point.
Sometimes we feel we might be taking too many pictures of things that are damaged.
Yeah.
If you feel that you've taken one too many pictures of things that are damaged, take 3 or 4 more.
And let me just jump in real quickly, because that's a good point. But in addition to that point, it might not be a bad idea to take some pictures before anything hit. Like take pictures of the roof, for example, because how do the adjusters know whether this damage was before the hurricane, the little damage, or whether all the hurricane caused the damage? That's my question.
And then, but where else would you take pictures of? Would you take, I guess, pictures of the entire house and of the windows?
That wasn't here before, but it's here now.
Yes, I mean, and that's a very good point. Before a storm, if you can take pictures, especially the exterior of the home, and it's hard to say what to take really close-up pictures, but take some overview pictures. Take overview pictures of your contents and your home in case the windows break and things get destroyed. But the key is to make sure you document anything that you own before it's thrown away.
Well, how do the public adjusters know whether this damage was caused by this recent hurricane on your roof, or it was 6 months ago, some of your shingles were off or had a little rain, no damage of rain in your house?
An experienced adjuster can tell based on the way things look, the aging of things, how old things may be, how long this may have been missing. And then sometimes you just can't tell. And so my job as a public adjuster is I'm representing the owner of that property. So if the owner tells me that this didn't exist before and I can't ascertain one way or the other, I'm going to have to go with what the owner is telling me, and that's what I'm presenting to the insurance company. Now, the insurance company and myself, we're adversaries, okay? I would love to work with them amicably on every claim, but the majority of them, it doesn't work that way because they don't want to pay.
They want to pay as little as possible.
Exactly.
Bottom line.
They have stockholders. They have investors that they want to eventually send that money to. So if they put it all back out, then they can't send it to these investors. So, of course, they want to minimize the claims.
What is FEMA? How you balance FEMA and the insurance company? Does
Well,
one take over the other, or the FEMA says, wait, make your claim. If they don't do it, then we will. I mean, how does that work?
FEMA is primarily a supplemental thing. FEMA never wants to be involved, period. They only come in
individuals.
If you have homeowners insurance, they want you to go through your homeowners and make the claim. FEMA comes in and they want to help those who can't afford or who does not have insurance, or the insurance company is not covering something that has happened. So that's when FEMA steps in. So FEMA is really a last resort type situation, and sometimes they're offering some things that might help supplement where you may have a large deductible, or they do low interest loans sometimes to help individuals get their repairs done.
So one thing I've always wondered, what's the most damaging thing from a storm? Is it the water or is it the wind, or does it? It
depends on how wet a storm is, how much rain we receive leading up and after the main winds. But the most damaging thing is a lot of times the debris that is in the air that's flying into
the wind. With the wind.
So the wind in itself is not as bad as what the wind carries. So if the wind picks a towel up off of my roof and carries it over to your home, and all of a sudden it bangs into your roof, and now it knocks a hole in it.
I remember that during Hurricane Irma when I was driving from my house over to my dad's house, from West Palm to Riviera Beach, and there was a sign that was blowing, across the street. I mean, everything else was in place, but that sign came around and, went across the front of my car.
Yes, and that's one of the things that people misunderstand about hurricane shutters. Hurricane shutters don't stop the wind pressure. Hurricane shutters stop debris from breaking your windows. And that's what the shutters are for. It's to stop the debris.
Right.
Because the debris is what usually breaks the window. And then the wind comes in.
And then that allows
the wind comes in, and then the wind causes other things to start flying around in your home. So that's why it's important to make sure you protect your coverings, your openings with covers.
Before you put the shutters up. Is that what you mean?
No, with the shutters. If you don't do shutters, if you don't, plywood shutters, aluminum shutters, the accordion shutters, but some way protect those windows and door openings so that the wind doesn't get in, or the debris doesn't fly into the glass.
Because, I noticed, with the shutters I have, the rain can fall down in between the window and the shutter.
It does not stop the rain. Shutters do not stop any rain penetration, nor does it stop the wind. So if your window is open,
cracked,
somehow, and even though you have the shutter on, the wind still comes through because it does not stop the wind. So it's all about protecting the opening from debris flying into it.
And my question is, what is the safest place to be in the house?
An interior room without a window. Okay. So if that be a bathroom or a closet, but you want to get away from windows.
Okay, what about the hallway? I've always heard something about hallway before.
The hallway could be a good place, but that means you got to make sure all the other doors are closed off so there's nothing
coming through
the hallway,
through the room
because
and into the
a lot of
home.
times your hallways are off the living room or a family room where there's windows. So that leaves you exposed to anything that's flying up and down. So if you can get into an interior room with no windows,
I've
that's
always
the
heard
optimal place.
What did you hear, Marion?
to be in the bathtub. Just that's like the safest place in the house because you know
Really?
it's kind of inside.
It is if you feel like the building is collapsing.
And why is that?
Because if you can get down in the tub, it will protect the weight of things falling on you because it won't be able to get all the way to the floor. Like if a rafter fell down, it will fall across the tub and won't be able to crush all the way to the floor. So, things that will keep weight off of you. Under a desk is almost like being in a tub. So if you have a table that you can get under.
Well, I just got to be somewhere where I can get out. I just don't want to get trapped. I need to find me a window. I need to get out.
Don't get out
But
during the
it's better to
storm.
Well, I know.
Stay in.
Yeah, it's better to be in a storm.
Our first
Yeah.
nature is to try to get out. We
Yeah.
want to get away from things that are collapsing and falling around, down around us. But sometimes that's the worst thing you can do. In most cases, it's the worst thing you can do.
Correct.
So would you say, I hear a lot people, saying that they're going to leave, because of the storm. They're going to, drive up to North Florida or fly out. Would you recommend that necessarily? Would that, depend on, I guess, how bad?
It really depends on how safe and secure the facility that you're going to be staying in. Based on my experiences in Andrew, if it's a Category 5,
Ain't nowhere to go.
let's try to get to New York. Let's try to get to Chicago. Let's try to get out of the state of Florida, depending on what part it's going to hit. I would recommend, if you have the ability to leave, if it's a strong Category 4, Category 5, then I would recommend trying to evacuate. But evacuation in Florida is difficult, especially in the South Florida area because of traffic. So
There's only one way out.
we do need to
People
pay
coming
attention
over
to
the
the
bridge, the
instructions
bridges.
that we're given to evacuate, because gridlock on the roads, you're stuck there for 10 hours and you waited the last minute to try to get out.
I just want to jump in because we've got 2 or 3 minutes. And for those people who are watching the possibility of a hurricane or just in the future, jot these numbers down quickly. If there's a problem with FPL at your house or your neighborhood, there's a number 800-468-8743. If there's a problem with water, you want to jot this down. This is Palm Beach County, 877-429-429 again. 1284. And if you are an elder, there's an elder hotline that's been set up for the county, and that's a 800 number again, 963-5337. Yes, I'm doing it without glasses. So again, 1-800-963-5337. If it's not 37, it's 31. And of course, you have the 211 number, 24 hours. And as you know, when I was the mayor of the city of Riviera Beach, I had an app. It's on everybody's phone, and it's live. We will be giving you updates for the county as the gas stations, the water, the ice, the highways. We will be giving you community updates that probably be first to do. So you need to download the app right now. We need to update the name. It's Bishop Thomas Masters or Mr. Ambassador, but it still says Mayor Thomas Masters. Mayor, that's all you have to do. Go to the Play Store or the App Store and download Mayor Thomas Masters. And I promise you, I will keep you well informed where to go for ice, where to go for water, where to go for comfort, where to go for shelters, where not to go, where the streets are blocked, We'll be doing it 24 hours. And if you need to get in contact with us through the app, you can do that. Or the phone number, again, I'm going to give it to you again for me directly, 561-247-2713. But the app is active, it's hot, it's waiting, and we'll be giving you notifications right around the clock. And I did that before I was a mayor, helping out in hurricanes.
That is awesome.
And I just still happen to have it, so we're going to use it again.
Amen.
So
that's
get
awesome.
past the name, the title, and just realize it's still one Thomas Masters. They're different hats, but get past that. And
it's all about helping.
That's
it's
right.
all
And
about
people.
the service and helping the
Mayor
people.
Thomas Masters is the app. Thank you. Go ahead, Mary. We got 2 minutes.
Well, before we ask Mr. Fields how to get in touch with him, I was planning to give a couple of bits of contact information too. The state has a website called floridadisaster.org. It is a state emergency response team which provides disaster assistance to all of the residents across the state of Florida. In Palm Beach County, there is the Emergency Management Department, which oversees everything related to storm preparedness. It's got a website too, pbcgov, as in gov.org/public safety. Mr. Fields, tell us how they can get in touch with you if
You got
after
30
this
seconds
storm
to say it.
today.
I can be reached at Lightman and Fields Public Insurance Adjusting. We're online, or 561-644-0919. That's my direct cell number, and you can reach me 24/7.
And you're willing to give that advice
Yes,
because of your experience.
we are willing to share, and advice is free. We don't charge for it. We are here to help.
Well, if you ain't hitting my house, I'm going to sure be calling you.
Call me. I want our neighborhoods and our people to be informed about what's going on and how they can benefit from the monies they pay to the insurance company.
All right. And remember, the best is yet to come.